can be here with us today. I am light. I am light. In this world. In this world. I am light. I am light. In this world. In this world. This is the place. This is the time. Let it shine. Let it shine. I see the joy. I see the joy in this world. In this world. I see the joy. I see the joy in this world. In this world. This is the place. This is the time. Let it shine. Let it shine. I'm living love every day. I'm living love every day. I'm living love every day. Spreading peace along the way. The right time, the right place. Living love every day. We are the light. We are the light in this world. In this world. We are the light. We are the light in this world. In this world. This is the place. This is the time. Let it shine. Let it shine. This is the place. This is the time. Let it shine. Let it shine. This is the place. This is the time. Let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
Jennifer Burnett and our Mile High Band, so grateful for them, so grateful for you. Welcome to Mile High Church. 3 things we teach every week that we want you to know. You are a child of the infinite. You are loved. And your work in your own consciousness benefits not only your life, but all of those around you. And so it's so great to gather today in this divine consciousness. We have a very special Sunday honoring new practitioners here at the church. And it's special for me because I get to share the sermon with you today, Dr. Michelle.
We're going to have a good time. It's a beautiful day here to do all that you mentioned, beautiful music, and we also get to take a moment here to honor a beautiful civil rights activist and statesman, John Lewis, who we love.
Yeah, we're going to light our memorial candle for John Lewis today, not just in honor of his incredible life, but his incredible legacy. And I just have some words of his to share with us.
Magical pocket there, huh?
Yes. And John Lewis shared, "To reconcile ourselves with one another, we must release our judgments and make peace with the fact that we are one. This country was founded on the ideal that we are all created equal. If we truly believe in the equality of all humankind, how can we put down and belittle one another? How can we disrespect and prejudice one another? How can we come to the point where we malign and hate one another?" And he goes on, "We are one people, one family, the human family, and what affects one of us affects us all."
And so as we light this candle in honor of him today, not only are we grateful for the life that he lived that benefits so many, we are also grateful to have an opportunity to take those qualities that he lived by and to replicate them in our lives, because as Josh said, the work that we do in the world benefits our lives and the life of everyone. And so let's take time now to deepen even further into prayer. So join with us as we sing our familiar song and pray together.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. And in this sacred moment, we do acknowledge the presence of the living Spirit right here among us and here within us. We acknowledge that the door to the soul opens inward. We move there now. We connect ourselves with the one soul, the one life, the one divine heart, which we all share. And on this beautiful morning, I give thanks for this opportunity for us to gather in this way, for us to feel each other's company, for us to feel ourselves aligned with a high purpose, to feel our connection, to know that there is one life, and we are all sharing it. We pray this day for this world of ours, for all that we are going through now as a people on this planet. We pray for all those whose lives have been touched by the virus, for this sense of uncertainty. May we know that there is a greater story unfolding through us. We pray for our leaders locally, nationally. We pray for our president. We pray for leaders all over this world, that their thoughts might be informed by compassion, that we might indeed see each other and know that we are one. And I give such thanks for our Mile High community this morning, for the support and love that we feel in each other's company, for our dedication to a high purpose. I bless Reverend Josh, Dr. Michelle this morning, their message. I give thanks for our practitioners, for their commitment. I know that our time is blessed, and I'm so thankful that this lighthouse continues to burn, to welcome new souls into our midst. For this I give great thanks, and so it is.
Pick me up like a paintbrush, God, dip it in the colors of my life. Paint your picture, Father, fashion a heart that is wholly yours. Take your fingers, God, Master Potter, come mold the clay. tell your story as you mold me, fashion a heart that is wholly yours, and write your name in the clay. Sign your name on the picture, and write your name in the clay, and sign your name on the picture. Pick me up like a paintbrush, and go dip it in the colors of my life. Paint your picture, Father, fashion a heart that is wholly yours. Take your finger, God, Master Potter, come over close. Tell your story as you mold me, fashion a heart that is wholly yours. And write your name in the clay, and sign your name on the picture, and write your name in the clay, and sign your name on the picture. Take all I am, take all I have, for I am yours forever and ever. Take all I am, take all I have, for I am yours forever and ever. Take all I am, take all I am, for I am yours forever, forever. Take all I am, take all I have, for I am yours forever. Come, write your name in the clay. Come, sign your name on the picture. Come, write your name in the clay. Come, sign your name on the picture.
It's It's a wonderful day, Mile High Church, because we have the honor of welcoming new prayer practitioners into our Mile High Church community. I can't be more thrilled for Mile High and its future than to demonstrate these incredible beings, their uniqueness, and their consciousness. Every year, Dr. Patty in the Prac 2 class gives a name for the class, and these are the Mighty Frogs. Frogs standing for fully relying on God. We're so grateful to welcome them in. These are individuals who've dedicated years of their life to spiritual study, not just for their own benefit, but to benefit all of us in the greater Mile High Church community. And we are so honored to welcome them here today. We're going to start. There's a few that can't be with us, but we have their pictures on the screen. So let us begin by recognizing Andrew Dose. Andrew, your heart is palpable in all that you do, and we're so glad that you're anchoring it here at Mile High Church. Tamara Kirsch, fully inquisitive, incredibly powerful. We are so grateful for your consciousness, Tamara. And lastly, Jackie Leonard, who is taking care of her new beautiful baby she just had this week. Such an incredible presence of love and beauty, not just for her kids, but for all of us here at Mile High Church.
And with us in person today, we're happy to celebrate these wonderful practitioners. They're going to come forth and receive a purple stole. If you come to Mile High Church in person, you might see a bunch of people who wear these purple stoles. That's an indication that they are one of our licensed prayer practitioners. So we're going to start with the wonderful, creative, and talented Jennifer Balcom.
Thank you for saying yes, Jennifer. And now, Melissa Berg, incredible, already in ministerial school, an incredible powerhouse. We're so grateful to have you with us, Melissa.
And a woman who sings not only in the world, but sings with her soul, Joanne Birch.
And now we honor Melinda Jacobs, such a passionate light for the Spirit within her and within us all.
And somebody who smiles not only brightly from her beautiful face, but from her depth of beingness, Janice Lines.
And now we honor Deborah Moon, someone who's fully committed to that creative spirit within her and helping all of us find it within ourselves.
Very dedicated to all of us here at Mile High Church, and especially to our little kids, and her consciousness just beams brightly, Danette Rockwell.
And now we honor Ginny Sims. Talk about a metaphysical powerhouse, so committed to her spiritual education, and I'm so grateful to have your consciousness here at Mile High Church.
Also another very committed Mile Higher who supports all of us adults and especially our teens. She's very courageous, and we're glad to have her as a practitioner here, Westlyn Van Cleve. And those are our new practitioners, and so we are grateful, and we encourage all of you, when you want to be uplifted in prayer in any way, if you have a challenge going on, to allow our practitioner prayer partners to support you and include these beautiful new practitioners. And wherever you are, send your hearts out to them, applaud them, give thanks for them. If you're watching online, maybe say congratulations to them in the chat. We are so grateful for them, and we're grateful for you. And now here's Jennifer Burnett and our wonderful band with a beautiful song.
Recommend getting your heart trampled on to anyone. Yeah. And I recommend walking around naked in your living room. Yeah. Swallow it down. What a jagged little pill. It feels so good swimming in your stomach. Wait until the nurse say, yeah, yeah. And I recommend sticking your foot in your mouth at any time. Feel free, throw it down. The caution blocks you from the wind. Hold it on to the rain. But you wait and see when the small world has you left. You learn, you love, you learn, you cry, you learn, you lose, you learn, you bleed, you learn, you scream, you learn. You're gonna have to eventually anyway. The fire trucks are coming up rapid, man. You live, you learn, you love, you learn, you cry, you learn, you lose, you learn, you bleed, you learn, you scream, you learn, yeah. You grieve, you learn, you choke, you learn, you laugh, you learn, you choose, you learn, you pray, you learn, you ask, you learn, you live, you
All right, Jennifer
That's
Burnett
great.
bringing the Alanis Morissette to church. Isn't it ironic, don't you think? No, we're so grateful to have that here.
Boom, boom, boom.
So
Where
grateful
are
for
you,
our
Michael?
Mile High
We need that.
band.
Thank you.
And again, so grateful for these incredible new practitioners, all of their teachers, your families and supporters. And hey, if you're interested in learning more about practitioner studies, after service today, there's going to be a Zoom informational. Check out our website or check out our benediction announcements.
Yeah, we'll have a great slide that'll tell you exactly how to go there. And we are continuing on with a series on resilience. This is the third part of this three-part series. And so it's exciting for Josh and me to share this platform today. We have today 4 principles for resilience. And so each one of us have chosen 2 of them, and we're going to weave them in together and just see how they work together and see what our ideas come up with. So resilience, of course, is that ability to gain strength, to rise up, to feel stronger, to have courage, to move forward in the direction that we choose to, that we want to, that we're called to, as opposed to when things happen in our life, when we're disappointed about a dream we're pursuing or some challenging condition comes up, that we can get stuck and we can get trapped in the condition themselves and sometimes feel powerless. I know when I'm not feeling resilient, I tend to feel powerless. And while that's not a bad place to go, that's not a wrong place to go, that often happens that we want to go into that place for a little while to nurture ourselves and to feel our sadness. My concern about it is that when people live in that place for 20, 30 years. And so we want to invite ourselves into great resilience. And so there are some steps that we want to offer that we hope will help anyone who might be struggling in this way to gain greater resilience. And so my first step today in the 4 principles is called accessing the God portal. Now, I talked a little bit about this last week, and I tend to talk a lot about this because it's one of my passionate things. I really have said before, if there's one thing, if the world could get one thing, it's that God is all there is. And I've often said to people when we write these talks, I don't know how it is for you, Josh, but I feel like every week when I get to speak, my basic bottom line is God is all there is. You are that which God is. Now go live your life that way. And we have to find creative ways to say that. And so we've got some creative things today and creative ways to say that. And so finding how we actually can begin to embody that sense of the living presence is what I'm talking about today in this step. Joel Goldsmith, who's an author that I just love, says, bring your consciousness to the place where you rise above merely a belief in God and come into the experience of communion with God. Then you no longer have any beliefs about God. You have the experience. And so I've been thinking a lot after our time with Gene Houston, and I have some other Gene Houston quotes here, but a number of years ago when I was in ministerial school, I went to a Gene Houston workshop. Gene's workshops are not just workshops where you sit and listen to Gene talk. You get up and you move and you act things out. In this particular week-long workshop, she had us in Huntington Beach, at the Huntington Beach Hilton, right there on the ocean, living out the pathway of the last days of Jesus. Living out the pathway of Buddha. We were in little groups, and we were to act out those last days. And I remember walking through the hotel with my little small group, and each one of us had to pretend at one point we were carrying the cross. And actually, we started out baptizing each other in the swimming pool. And the tourists felt this was very interesting, for sure. And it was one of the most profound workshops that I've ever been to. In the time when we were studying Buddha, we would go sit under a tree and imagine that we were the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree and just being in that place and in a way waiting for enlightenment, but absolutely knowing that it was right where we were. And it was very powerful. And what it did is it took me from just telling these stories and knowing these stories and hearing these stories to imagining what it must have been like to be Jesus walking that path, to be the Buddha walking that path. And that's my first point today. When we're talking about God is all there is, it's not enough just to think it and talk about it and to intellectualize about it. And so there are many doorways into the divine. Jesus talked about the kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is right here. It is right now. And what happens is that we get very attuned to the world of form, and we begin to believe that this world of form is all that God is. And so we get caught, and that's where we can get stuck in not being resilient. That's where we can sometimes feel powerless, because the world of form sometimes appears to show us it's going to be hard. You're not going to do it. It's going to be challenging. You're not strong enough. You're not wise enough. You're not whatever enough that goes on in each one of our heads. So there are many doorways to God, but I want to talk about the sensorial doorways, which is another thing that Gene talked about. Your entelechy, your ability to use your sensory abilities to actually not only experience this world of form, but to deepen into the divine. And of course, quickly, those are sight, the ability to see this beautiful world of form. And when I'm seeking to embody and walk through the doorway of God, I have to be more resilient about noticing when that divine presence shows up. Not only in the beautiful things in nature, but sunrises and things like that, but seeing God even in my challenging circumstances or in the pain that I'm in or the struggle that I'm in, seeing the ways that synchronicity shows up. So I see in the world of form and I see into my own spirit, and I see the truth about who I am, and I use my sight to see more deeply. And of course, hearing, allowing ourselves to hear beautiful music like we have here at Mile High Church and that our world has right now, being able to hear, and not only hear the beauty of life, the birds singing, to hear the wind blowing, but to hear that inner voice of the divine within me and allow it to help me rise up and be more resilient. And to smell God. I wonder what God smells like. I've thought a lot about that, Josh. There's lots of smells in the world that are lovely and bring me into a state of, the smell of bread cooking or cookies cooking, or the smell of the pine trees in the mountains. And I bet the smell of Nancy's hair, right?
Well, bread dough, I think
bread
you got it.
Bread dough, yeah. What did I say?
Bread dough. That's
Bread
what you
dough.
said. That's
okay.
the smell of God.
That's
cooking.
the smell of God. Well, geez, I didn't know that. You got it. I was going to think that you would say that Nancy's hair, your daughter's hair, was the smell of God.
It is,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah, okay. I think so too. So that smell, that ability to sense, as I'm in those moments of Godhood, what does the divine smell like? What's the smell that I have? And for me, it's often a very sweet smell, almost like incense, to taste the divine and feel the divine, not only in the things that we take into our bodies to nourish ourselves as we bless our food, but to taste the presence of the living Spirit as me and to feel it, to feel that everything that I am touching is the divine in action. And so to live with that life and that discipline, I think can help us encounter life in a way that Joel Goldsmith is talking about and really embrace it.
Yeah, I think that's so beautifully said, Michelle, especially this idea that the answer to that question about the sensing God can be different for all of us. But
Right.
the key is anything that we approach with awareness, the willingness to go to that God portal can inspire us. So it's the message for me from what you said is stop paying attention to what doesn't get you into that portal
Right.
and take time each day to get into it. So that's a wonderful principle for resilient living. And the second principle that I get to share today is an attitude of humility. And I'd like to begin by asking all of us to think about something that bugs us, something that bothers you. You got something? You got it?
People, yes, I got it. People
Okay.
who throw their cigarette butts out of their car.
Oh,
Bugs me.
Ugh. Okay, I'm glad you didn't say me. That's good. And I have a little saying that I try to utilize. It sounds good, but it's hard in practice. And it's this: don't let what shakes you make you. Don't let what shakes you make you. Easier said than done, because I can be easily shaken at times. And when we think about this thing that's bothering us, whether it's a circumstance or it's an individual, it's hard sometimes not to take that personally. And that for me, I've always been challenged with Don Miguel's agreement about don't take things personally. That's hard for me. I tend to take everything kind of personally. Or I think Terry Cole Whitaker said, "What you think of me is none of my business." I want to get into the cabinets of your mind and find out. But just because I take it personally doesn't mean that I have to fall into the position that it's all about me. And something that I can do, and all of us can do, when we're faced with something that's challenging us is to ask yourself the following 3 questions. First, is there anything in this challenge or in what this challenging person is saying that I can learn from? Is there some valid feedback in there for me? Is there a lesson to be learned? Because sometimes learning what that is can help us move past what the challenge is. Second is, what does this challenge or this challenging person really want me to know? Sometimes when faced with a problem, we think that the first thing to do is to rush to find a solution. And in my experience, I've learned that the best thing to do is to listen. What does this person really want me to know about them? Even if they're attacking me with a critique that's all about me, what do they want me to know about them? Sometimes when I can hear what that is and realize perhaps it's not something negative at all, but a heart, something that's been trapped from being shared, then I can move past that challenge as well. And lastly, could this be for my highest good? Could there be something in this conflict or in this challenge that's for my highest good? And if the answer is no, then we want to get rid of it and probably put boundaries in the middle of that relationship as soon as possible. But if there's an opportunity to better embody the virtues of my heart, the purpose of my living, and to practice those in those situations, I've found, even though I may not be thankful for the challenge or the challenging person, I'm thankful for the experience because it's given me the opportunity to practice those virtues in a creative way that helps me pull through it. And there are so many different examples of humility and an attitude of humility. And one of my favorites is just a small story about a woman named Dr. Dorothy Warburton. And she today, or she actually passed away in 2016, but she spent the majority of her career helping women who had miscarriages have babies. She did incredible scientific work, but she grew up in the 40s and 50s when women weren't allowed to do that kind of thing. Her dad had wanted a son, but didn't have one, and so still decided to share his scientific knowledge with Dorothy through her life. And she excelled in school, but even when she graduated high school, her goal, she said, was one day I can be a secretary to a great scientist. And so she didn't know necessarily her own power, but she kept at it. She went and got her bachelor's degree, was encouraged to get her master's, was encouraged to get her doctorate, and she began to get a sense of just how intelligent and talented she was. In her first job, she did make a complaint that there wasn't enough women on committees, and they responded by making her the chairperson of the refreshment committee.
Oh my gosh.
So it's challenging when the world around you doesn't see your brilliance and challenges you. But what Dorothy did is she dedicated herself to listening to women who had experienced miscarriages in a way that they apparently weren't being heard by the male doctors. Hundreds and hundreds of women, and she went through her own experiences and began to discover genetic aspects that were affecting these things. So today we can say that there are countless babies who have been born and women who've been helped because of the humble work that she has done. And it's a lesson to me that there's a difference between survival and resilience. Survival is just trying to get by with your own skin.
Right.
Resilience is about recognizing your values and being willing to take them on a faith walk, no matter what your challenges may be. And that's where that attitude of humility comes in. Don't fall into any picture that the world around you may ask you to conform to, other than that vision that God has placed in your heart. Live from that with humility, not with forcefulness, but for a willingness. And it's amazing the adventures of life that unfold.
Beautiful. Thank you. And of course, one of the adventures of life that I've brought today are Jedi mind tricks.
Principle number 3.
Principle number 3.
She used the force to pick that up, by the way. It just went
It
right
just
into her hand.
Came to me. I love this. I really do love this. And this was inspired. I love your story that you just told. And this, for me, was inspired by a fictional character. In the Rogue One movie, there's a fictional character who is a Jedi, and he fights. He's blind, and he fights the fights by listening to the Force. And he has an affirmation. It's really fascinating. And I love this because Gene Houston says, as to your story, if you keep telling the same sad, small story, you will keep loving the same sad, small life. And I really resonate with that. And as I watched this character, I thought, well, gosh, this guy isn't even real. Why am I so drawn to him? And as he would go into a fight, he said, the Force is with me, and I'm with the Force. And I fear nothing, for all this is as the Force wills it. And then as he would fight, he would say, I am one with the Force is one with me. I am one with the Force is one with me. And I call it a Jedi mind trick because, of course, this character won most of his fights. He didn't win them all. But even as he was dying, even as he was losing the battle that many of us fear losing the most, he was saying, I am one with the Force, and the Force is one with me. And that really inspired me to say that a part of being a resilient person is finding these phrases that are powerful, not just affirmations, not just little things you can say, but that are words of power that can be repeated, that allow me, even in my most challenging, tragic moments of feeling beaten down, that I can say these words and feel empowered. And so those words have rung out to me. I'm one with the Force, and the Force is one with me. And I think that George, who wrote all those stories, had Ernest Holmes in mind, had our teaching in mind, because I do think that a lot of those stories do talk about the potential of the Force or of the divine, the potential that humans have when we recognize that we can transcend the challenges that we face and rise up. But the challenge that it takes is for us to work with that Force and to be embodying that Force and to call it forth. So this principle, this third principle, is about using my words, my thoughts, and as I'm moving through my most challenging times. And sometimes where that starts is just with, I'm willing. I'm willing to be an instrument of the divine today. I'm willing to see this differently. I'm willing to let go of that of taking it personally. I'm willing to let go of my sense of unworthiness. I'm willing to stand strong. I'm willing to walk forward. Sometimes that's the starting place, and that's okay. Other times it is, as I'm walking through that challenging day, as I'm walking into that moment where I'm about to make my dreams come true, I am one with the Force, and the Force is one with me. I am one with God, and God is one with me. And it unleashes that creativity that is seeking expression through us. And that's a powerful thing to have unleashed through us. Number 4.
I love
I'll
that.
put my lightsaber away.
No Jedi mind tricks on me in the middle of my sharing here. And I think that is something I really admire about you, Dr. Michelle, and your leadership, the ability to be faced with challenges in our church that we're facing right now. And something I see you do is you kind of quietly go within. You see, is there something there for me, how to show up? And now I know what you're chanting.
Yeah, now you do.
I know it's there.
I've just unleashed my secret.
We can use the Force in incredible ways,
Yes,
most definitely. And the fourth principle to share for resilient living today is everyday courage. Everyday courage. What does it mean in your life to practice a little bit of courage every day? And I love something that Maya Angelou said in one of the last interviews before she passed away. She said, "Courage is the most important of all the virtues. Because without courage, you can't practice any of the other virtues consistently. You can't be consistently fair or kind or generous or forgiving. Any of these without courage." And there's that aspect of facing our major fears, the things that may be coming up, the big trials. But there's another aspect of courage that says, face something you fear, even if it's a little bit, every day. Because when we line our lives with a foundation of courage, it gives us the ability, as Angela shares, to practice the virtues that are needed to overcome anything that might be taking place. And I love that about Michelle's message, mentioning that the man ultimately lost a fight. He lost a fight, and we may lose fights, but we never have to lose who we are. We never have to lose what we know. So don't allow that awareness to be hidden, and continue to confront your day with a little bit of courage all the time. I also love how the Irish poet Brendan Behan said it. He said, "Many of our fears are tissue paper thin, and a single courageous step would carry us clear through them." So keep working through the tissue paper. Since Michelle brought up Star Wars, I feel the need to counter with a little Harry Potter, if that's okay. I did forget my wand today. And in the universe of Harry Potter, there is a creature called a boggart.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what a boggart is?
I do. Uh-huh.
Yes, they're these creatures that take on the form of what you're most afraid of. And in the land of fantasy, that sounds pretty cool and interesting. But in real life, I've found it's true as well, don't you? We can often take a paranoid vision or take a consciousness of fear and project it on that person that's challenging us, and project it on that upcoming situation that we're worried about. We can build a whole story about it that we see it for everything other than what it is. And in Harry Potter mythology, what you do is you take your wand, you point it at the boggart, and you say, "Ridiculous." And it transforms into something funny. Now, if you are a witch or a wizard, use that spell, all the power to you. But for the rest of us, maybe it's not about turning what makes us afraid into something ridiculous, but maybe we can take some time to see it for what it really is. To remember ourselves as we really are. To remember the truth of our being in all that we do, because our ability to do just that can help pull us through. And we can see the things that we're saying we're most afraid of aren't truly as frightening or as scary as it looks. That's the kind of everyday courage that each of us can be called to. That's the kind of everyday courage that, for me, made John Lewis such an exceptional American and such an exceptional human being. John Lewis, we know for his moments of great courage, riding next to a white person on a Greyhound bus, not knowing what was going to happen when they got let out, sitting up there in front and being beaten bloodily, both of them and other people there as well, fighting for civil rights. Getting up and speaking in front of thousands and thousands of people with Martin Luther King Jr. at the National Mall. Walking across that bridge in Selma, right there up front, right in the front of the line, the first to take the beatings of the sheriff's department that day. Those are the great acts of courage that we remember John Lewis practiced, all, by the way, in the heart of the philosophy that we bring into our church of nonviolence, being the presence of love, refusing to give in to hate or violence, standing in that truth of resilience within who we are, that resilience of spirit that says, I may not see the spiritual truth around me, but I know it is within me. And I surrender to that truth within me and know that it can transform my life in incredible ways. What truly made John Lewis great for me is all the little things that he did. That never giving up on the fight for civil rights, he chose public service. And he went to the grind, not only being a mentor for all the members of the house, but continuing to be a voice for equal rights in all different ways, in a way that we know isn't just about protesting, but is that hard, everyday work that so many of our leaders seek so hard to do, and perhaps they don't get enough credit for. And so honoring that everyday courage, we can ask ourselves, what are the big, great, courageous things that I've done or am doing, but what can I do today to practice a little bit more courage, a little bit more heart. That's what courage means, to live with heart, and to bring a little bit more of my own virtues into our life. It is time to let go, through the power of resilience, of the phantoms that perhaps have been allowed to run our lives too long. It's time to step into that heart of virtue, that heart that is that portal to God that Dr. Michelle was talking about, that heart of deeper and inner knowing, to practice it more concretely and emphatically in our lives. I love how Elizabeth Gilbert put it in one of her most recent books called Big Magic, which is about working with creativity, but to me it's just as much about working with your own inner courage. She says, "Who the hell do you think you are?" your darkest interior voices will demand. "It's funny you should ask," you can reply. "I'll tell you who I am. I am a child of God, just like anyone else. I am a constituent of the universe. I have the invisible spirit benefactors who believe in me and who labor alongside me. The fact that I am here at all is evidence that I have the right to be here. I have a right to my own voice and a right to my own vision. I have a right to collaborate with creativity because I myself am a product and a consequence of creation. I'm on a mission of artistic liberation, so let the girl go. See," Gilbert says, "now you're the one doing the talking." Any final thoughts on resilience for us, Michelle, before we close with prayer?
No, I think those beautiful words that you just read really say it all, and I loved all your great points. I got really had energy. I think it's those practitioners in this room. I've just been flooded with energy here today, so I'm just standing here going, whoa, I'm vibrating like crazy.
It's great to have the energy, and the force is strong in you.
The force is strong in you, me young one.
And the force is strong in you as well, and it's such an honor to ask all of our practitioners in the room to stand up and join us as we move into an affirmative prayer. Simply acknowledging the spirit of life alive in us today. May we make that commitment to make this spirit and living from the spirit the primary action of our lives. We let nothing come first but that which leads to a deeper realization and embodiment and practice of love. And I know that as we embody and practice just this, that the very heart of resilience, which is the very heart of that ancient saying, Emmanuel, God is with us, God is with you, God is with me, God is with all of us. We bring forth that resilient spirit, bringing forth the hidden truths of invisible things. That greater sense of unity, that greater sense of equity, that greater sense of self-understanding, that greater sense of authenticity, that greater demonstration of healing. The epiphany of deeper knowing, that ability to live life not on low but on high, appreciating the gifts in each and every moment and knowing that as we do so, we become the gift ourselves. A gift for our own consciousness, a gift for those we love, a gift for those who are hurting, who are suffering, who are sick, who feel alone or discriminated against. Each of us all together can step into that great light of inner knowing and be it for ourselves, for others, and the planet. That is the sacred call of all practitioners, which is you, which is me, which is all of us, to practice love, to practice resilience, to practice that deeper truth we know in our heart to be, and allow it to become with that much more clarity, that much greater tangibility, that much greater, creating that space that is in the interest of the highest and best for all. So in love, in healing, and in grace, we allow it to be and become. And so it is. Amen.
Take all I Come sign your name on the picture. Come write your name in the clay. Come sign your name on the picture.
Ah, so beautiful, Jennifer. Thank you so much. I think if I were to add another step to being resilient, it might be the step of generosity. Studies show, and I've loved reading them, that when we are in a giving place, we find ourselves being stronger as we support other people. So while this is the time where we invite tithes and offerings, it's also a time where I'm inviting each one of us to find a way to give this week, to give today, whether it's to call someone that we care about and share words of love with them, or to do an act of kindness for a neighbor or for someone in our life. That generosity lifts us up and allows us to remember the truth of who we are and step into that circle of life and abundance. And for those who are called to support us financially, we are so grateful if you have already given to Mile High Church, especially during this time where we can't be together physically. It's so wonderful that so many people support our community when we're away from each other. And so if you'd like to give or tithe, this is a time where we invite you to do that. You can text to us. You just have to text 45888 and you put in the text box Mile High and the amount you'd like to text. You can go to our website at milehighchurch.org and make a donation, or you can mail a check to us, and the address for our church is located on the slide that you'll see. And so if you would like to be in partnership with us and step into that cycle of abundance with us, we thank you right now. And we invite you to join us as we affirm the truth together about all the gifts that we give. So please say with me, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. And so it is.
Staring at a stop sign, watching people drive by, T-Mac on the radio. Got so much on your mind, nothing's really going right, looking for a ray of hope. Whatever it is you may be going through, God is not gonna let it get the best of you. You're an overcomer. Stay in the fight till the final round. You're not going under, 'cause God is holding you right now. You might be down for a moment, feeling like it's hopeless. That's when love reminds you you're an overcomer. You're an overcomer. Everybody's been down, hit the bottom, hit the ground. Ooh, you're not alone. Just take a breath, don't forget, hang on to those promises. God wants you to know you're an overcomer. Stay in the fight till the final round. You're not going under, 'cause God is holding you right now. You might be down for a moment, feeling like it's hopeless. That's when love reminds you you're an overcomer. You're an overcomer.
you so much, Jennifer Bennett. Our wonderful band is here today with Dr. Kent, Rob, Mike, and Bijou. We are so blessed with them. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And what a wonderful day it's been. So grateful for our new practitioners, so grateful for your beautiful wisdom. Thank you so much, Josh. And we have a lot going on in this next week. We are excited to be having a school supply drive, and you can participate in a number of ways. You can go to our website and make a donation. Just click on the donation page there that lists that. You'll see the school supply drive ad, and you can click on the link there and either make a donation, or you can get some school supplies and show up here the next few Fridays and donate them in our parking lot. And we will be supporting the Action Center, who supports local schools, helping our kids get back to school.
Yes, thank you to Reverend Masondo and our Make a Difference ministry for helping to lead that and put that together. It's not too late to join our spiritual practices class, talking about resilience. This class is all about learning about spiritual practices from a multitude of different faith traditions, including our own science of mind. And also, just again, after service, just at 11:15, join Reverend Michelle Scavetta for an exploration of what entails in practitioner studies. I'll be with you all as soon as I can, too, and we're looking forward to that. Just go to our website to find the Zoom link to get there.
And we hope you'll be with us Wednesday night. We've got a wonderful Wednesday night live coming up. So 7 p.m. right back here again. And let's join together now, knowing that we walk forth in the resilience that God is, because we are that which it is. We are strong, we are powerful, we are light. Thank you, life. And so it is.